With fall just around the corner and Halloween not far behind it, I thought I would share how I make my orange and green glitter ribbon bracelets. To make this project, we're going to need ribbon, obviously. This ribbon measures 5/8 inches wide, which is the same width as my mold. I use two kinds of ribbon for this, the green and orange glitter ribbon and a solid black and gold fleck ribbon. The reason I am using two types of ribbon is because the orange and green glitter ribbon is mesh, and because of that, it's a little transparent. I like the solid black behind the glitter, so I use the solid black ribbon behind it. It's hard to see on camera because of the reflections, but in person you can see the black and gold flecks and the spaces between the glitter bands. I think it helps the glitter pop just a little bit more. It's more preference than anything. You can definitely make these with just one kind of ribbon. Most of my ribbon bracelets are made with just one type of ribbon. We'll also need some tape. You don't need tape this wide, this is just what I have. Any type of tape would work, but I like using a low-tack tape like painter's tape because it is less likely to pull off glitter and prints than regular masking tape or scotch tape. We use this to temporarily hold the ribbon together as we fit it for the bracelet mold. You can use a paper clip or a bobby pin to hold the ribbon together as well. I just prefer to use the tape. We need a way to hold the ribbon together at the ends. You can use scotch tape for this or even packing tape. I use this 3M double-sided adhesive. It comes in a sheet and I cut it down to strips slightly narrower than my mold. I'm not going to lie, this stuff is kind of pricey. I paid around $18 for three 8.5 by 11 inch sheets on eBay last year. But we're using such small pieces. A full sheet goes a long way. I have made a bunch of bracelets and I haven't even used a full sheet yet. I like this adhesive because it's thin and clear. It virtually disappears in the resin. It's also extremely sticky and holds the ribbon together very well. Obviously we're going to need a mold. I use bracelet bangle molds from littlewindows.com. You can use practically any bracelet mold though. I just like the quality of these molds. They leave a nice shiny surface on the bracelet. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with Little Windows, I just like their products. We'll need a pair of scissors to cut the ribbon and adhesive. You don't need a pair of curved scissors like these, any pair will do. We can't make a resin bracelet without resin. For this bracelet I am using Little Windows Brilliant Resin. You can obviously use the resin of your choice. To mix the resin I'm using Little Windows silicone measuring and mixing cup and mixing wand, but you can use whatever mixing cups and tools that you have. To cover our resin project while it cures, I'm using this creation station that is also made by Little Windows, but you could use any kind of plastic container or box to cover your project. You will need something to pick the cover off of the adhesive sheet. I use this metal pick that came with some off-brand Cricut tools. You could use a pen, the point of an X-Acto knife. Anything that's pointy and sharp will work. Last but not least, you will want to wear a respirator and gloves and work in a well-ventilated space. I'm not wearing gloves during this video because I am able to mix a small batch of resin for this project without getting it on my hands. Also, I tend to make a bigger mess when wearing gloves, but your safety is your responsibility, so take proper precautions when using resin. Since I am using the Little Windows bracelet mold for this project, I am using this guide that I made. It's simply two pieces of cardboard taped together with a gap in between that is the same width of the bracelet mold. You can lay this over top of whatever material you want to use, and the clear tape window lets you see how it'll look when cut to size for the bracelet. The color-coded chart on the one piece of cardboard corresponds to the length of material used for each bracelet. There are 4 different bracelet molds: square, rectangular, oval, and round. The guide I am using is a copy of the size chart that is found in the booklet that is included with the bracelet molds when you purchase them. The booklet that comes with the bracelet mold also tells you how much resin to use for each side of the mold, along with the instructions, tips, and ideas for projects using the molds. Since we're making an oval bracelet, we need 30 milliliters of resin, which is about an ounce. We'll actually use slightly less than 30 milliliters since the ribbon will take up some space in the mold. I'm going to start with the green and orange glitter ribbon. I line up the ribbon with the edge of the oval bracelet length mark on the chart. Then I move it up about 1/4 of an inch. We need a little extra length for a slight overlap. Since this ribbon has a pattern, I make my cut somewhere that won't interfere too much with that pattern. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but we have some space between the glitter bands. So I think we can line it up and keep the pattern continuous. We don't have to worry about cutting the black ribbon in any particular spot since it is a solid color. I'm cutting the glitter slightly longer so that it will completely encircle the black ribbon. I probably should have cut the black ribbon first, but since both pieces will need to be adjusted to fit properly in the mold, it doesn't really matter. So I'm measuring out my black ribbon. I'm adding a little bit of excess to it so that I have some overlap on the ends. I just wanted to note that the ribbon I am using isn't any special type of ribbon. It's just polyester ribbon. The black I bought at Hobby Lobby on clearance. The glitter ribbon I bought at Dollar Tree last fall. This bracelet is about a year old, and as you can see, the glitter is still bright and colorful. So if you're worried about inexpensive ribbon not holding up, this should give you some reassurance. I like to barely hit the ends of the ribbon with a lighter, just to singe the ends so that they don't fray. You don't want to hold it there very long. Just a kiss with the flame is enough. Next, we'll start fitting the ribbon to the mold. Even though we use the guide to measure and cut our ribbon, it'll still need some adjustment to fit the mold the way we want. I cut off a small piece of green tape to hold the ribbon together as I fit it to the mold. Something to keep in mind when using ribbon or fabric for these bracelets is the absorbency of the material. For instance, if you use an absorbent material like cotton, the material can come into contact with the sides of the mold and the resin will soak through and you'll still have a shiny coat of resin encasing the material. But in the case of something like this polyester ribbon, you'll want to leave some space between the ribbon and the walls of the mold. The reason being that the polyester doesn't absorb the resin as well as other materials. If it is too tight to either side of the mold, the resin might not be able to encase it completely, and the texture of the material may telegraph through the finished side. I hope this makes sense. I made a bracelet once where the ribbon was tight to the inside of the mold. When I demolded it, you could feel the ribbon on the inside of the bracelet. I had to coat it in UV resin to completely cover it. So just keep that in mind when using textiles for resin projects. And here I'm just readjusting the position of the ribbon until I'm happy with how it looks in the mold. It's mostly just trial and error. We must keep in mind when positioning the black ribbon that there will be another layer of ribbon over top of it. I am taping the inside of the ribbon so that I can remove the tape on the outside. I position the glitter ribbon to cover up the overlap on the black ribbon. This isn't completely necessary, but I like to try and hide any transitions to help make it look more like a solid piece. Once I am happy with the position of the glitter ribbon, I tape it in place and check the fit. It looks good, so I'm moving on to the next step. Before I do, I just wanted to show you some bracelets I have made with other ribbon designs. Here I have a Southwestern type style ribbon bracelet, a black with gold bee ribbon bracelet, sunflower ribbon bracelet, and a burlap type with fall leaves print and gold glitter accents ribbon bracelet. You don't have to use ribbon or fabric to make these bracelets. You can cut out virtually any type of paper into strips to use for these. Just seal it with something like Mod Podge and then place it into the resin. You can even just use pigments or glitter or alcohol inks. The only limit is your imagination. Just a quick warning, I haven't made a double layer ribbon bracelet in a while, so the next steps of tacking the two pieces of ribbon together is going to be a little awkward and tedious. I'm using small pieces of the double-sided adhesive. The yellow backing comes off very easily, but the brown paper part, it's kind of a pain to get off, as you'll see. This stuff is extremely sticky. As you see, it sticks easily to my finger. Holding the ribbon in place, I pull back the overlap and place the adhesive on the ribbon where the other end overlaps. This stuff is hard to reposition, so try to place it exactly where you want it the first time. Also, when tacking the ribbon in place, you want to keep both pieces of ribbon and the ends of the ribbon as even as possible. There isn't much extra space in the mold, so we want to try and keep the ribbon from sticking up out of the top. I said it was going to be an awkward process. The hardest part of this entire project is removing the brown paper backing from the adhesive. Trust me, I am making this look much harder than it probably is. Basically, moving forward, I am just cutting and placing pieces of adhesive to join the ribbon overlaps and the two ribbon pieces together. As I said before, you don't have to use 2 pieces of ribbon. This project goes way faster if you only have to tack 1 piece of ribbon together. I fit the ribbon into the mold one more time to make sure that either layer hasn't shifted. Then I just continue cutting and applying pieces of adhesive to tack the 2 layers of ribbon together completely. The key here is to keep the 2 pieces taut to each other and even as much as possible as we join them together. We don't want it shifting around in the mold. Again, this is an awkward process and I'm pretty rusty. Despite my best efforts, the ribbon is slightly cockeyed, but that's okay. We'll continue and forge ahead. The next step, I will measure and mix my resin, but I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll be back when we're ready to pour. I have my resin mixed and ready to pour. Before we add the ribbon, I'm going to fill the mold about halfway with resin. I tap the mold to help release some air bubbles. I use a micro brush with the brush part pulled off so I have just the point to drag around the sides of the mold to dislodge any air bubbles. I'm using gentle pressure and I'm not scratching the mold with the point of my tool. Now we're ready for the ribbon. I try to line up the overlap where it's less likely to be visible when the bracelet is worn. With this being an oval bracelet, I place the overlap towards one of the narrower ends. I use my mixing wand to push the ribbon down into the resin. As you can see, I have a slight gap here between the 2 pieces of ribbon. I probably could have used 1 more piece of adhesive. I'm sorry that my hands are in the way, but I'm just dragging the mixing wand between the ribbon and the walls of the mold to ensure the resin completely covers the ribbon. I keep adding resin and manipulating the ribbon until I am satisfied that the ribbon is completely covered and that the mold is full. I go around the top of the mold to remove any air bubbles trapped there. I overfilled the mold, so I removed some of the excess resin. I will be doming this bracelet after it cures, so I am trying to keep the resin as level with the top of the mold as possible. I run my lighter over the top to pop any bubbles. I remove some more bubbles that I find with the mixing wand. I tap the ribbon down one last time and then leave it to cure. It's the next day and the bracelet is fully cured and ready to demold. And that's always my favorite part. As you can see, the bracelet is extremely shiny straight out of the mold. The ribbon looks great. There is a very tiny defect on the inside of the bracelet, probably from a small air bubble, but that's easily fixed with a tiny drop of UV resin. The ribbon is poking up slightly, but since we're going to be doming this and it's going to be completely covered in resin, I'm not worried about it. I'm actually pretty happy with how this turned out. Here I am just smoothing the sharp edges with some 600 grit sandpaper. Make sure you wear a mask when sanding resin. You don't want to inhale the dust. I'm just very, very lightly rounding over the sharp edges, being careful not to scratch the sides of the bracelet. We're not looking to remove a lot of material here. We just want to soften the sharp edges so that when it's domed, there is a continually smooth surface from the top to the sides of the bracelet. You only need to sand and dome the top of the bracelet. The bottom is finished out of the mold. Off camera, I cleaned off the resin dust and mixed up 9 milliliters of brilliant resin. I let it set for about 10 minutes. I want it to thicken up a little so that it's less likely to run down the sides of the bracelet when doming. If you have a steady hand, you can pour the resin straight from the cup onto the bracelet. But as you can see, I have a bit of a tremor in my hand, so I use the tip of the mixing wand to let the resin drip down into the bracelet. It's hard to see at this angle, but there is a little channel at the top of the bracelet. This is formed because the resin has a tendency to climb the sides of the mold. It does make it easier to dome, however, because the sides of the channel act like a dam to stop the resin from running over. Slowly and carefully add resin to the perimeter of the bracelet. It is very easy to add too much and cause it to flow over the sides. I am wearing a magnifying visor to make it easier to see where the resin is. Being clear, it's sometimes hard to tell where it is. If you don't like seeing the ribbon edges in the top and bottom of the bracelet, you could dome the top and bottom with black or any other pigmented or glitter-filled resin that you want. It doesn't have to be clear. Okay, I have added as much resin as I need to. I check all the sides to make sure it hasn't run over. It looks pretty good. So I run a lighter over the top to pop any bubbles and close the lid. The dome layer should be cured fully by morning, and other than fixing the little hole on the inside, our bracelet is done. It's the following day. The dome layer has fully cured and hardened, so I'm removing the bracelet from the creation station. And as soon as it comes into focus, you will see that perfect dome layer that we achieved. And as you can see, we didn't have any resin run down the inside or outside the bracelet. It's virtually perfect. I love how that glitter pops. We got a really nice shiny glossy surface. You can see the reflection of my ceiling lights in it. And between the bands of glitter through the mesh, you can see that black ribbon with the gold flecks. I think it really ties it together. There you can see how the ribbon is laying inside the resin. It's very good. Aside from the little defect I mentioned earlier, it's virtually perfect. We have a good transition from the sides of the bracelet to the top. It is virtually seamless. I am just ecstatic with how this turned out. I enjoyed making this video and sharing my process with you. I greatly appreciate you choosing to spend some of your time with me today. It means a lot to me. If you would like to support the channel, please like and subscribe. If you would like to support my small craft business, you can do that by visiting my website, www.longwellcraftworks.com. I will leave links to the products I used in this video, as well as links to my craft store in the description below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again very soon.